me just to talk about my life. And so I started off from when I was a boy.
She welcomed me in, she was so nice. She actually took me on like a massive tour around her little flat and told me all about her life.
I've absolutely no ability, no, I can't sing a note in tune. But luckily nobody wanted me to sing.
I was quite impressed with this youth. And the more I talked to him, the more I appreciated his musical knowledge. And the way he got things out of him was quite extraordinary.
I'd leave her house with notes and notes and piles of notes, and I'd go home and I'd sit on the floor and write them all out in a more neat fashion.
I was so moved by what she was doing. I sort of actually got quite emotional about it.
It's somehow more personal because the person you're writing to is in the audience. There's a connection there.
He had such a strong memory of it. It was quite easy to compose for it.
One of the delights of the project is having fed Carlos all these different ideas. We're thinking at this stage, I wonder if he will include a German folk song in the piece.
School at 14 because of the war, and I lived in a very sort of small village where, beginning of the war, the school closed down, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. My mother was not impressed. Anyway.
One of the main things she said to me was, I went to the University of Life. She didn't go to university, she went to the University of Life, and so I loved that, and I incorporated that into it.
She's brilliant, very clever, beautiful voice. Lovely musician.
It's something about like the really close harmony, close timbre that's like quite representative of her close family.
I think it's a lovely opportunity to get to know the musician that's doing the music and to know what they're doing, and also to hear the music that you've chosen, and also a little story about your life and that.
I just want them to be able to recognise things like about themselves, because I haven't just written a piece for me. Like, it's not about me, it's about her.
I like church music because of my cathedral school background, and I said one of the hymns I like is "Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer," and he remembered that, and he started off the interview by playing it in jazz, in rhythm.
He had a lot of interesting stories, different contrasting stories, and that could inspire lots of musical ideas, which it did. The main story that he first said was his first experience of flying, especially that, and that was his biggest memory, I think, of his first flight in his glider.
The one that left his greatest mark on me was that music he played, which reminded me of when I was learning to fly. We went in an open cot machine up into the sky and the clouds, and Jed's music, I said at the time, could encompass that.
He said he was scared or apprehensive, but then once he got through the clouds and everything, it was fine, because obviously then it suddenly went out into calm everything. So the way I did it was maybe start off quite slow and then build up, obviously, as the plane takes up speed, and then as it gets higher and higher to get sort of more tension building, and then when you get through the clouds or whatever, just to calm out.
Had several meetings together and discussed, numerous things about our lives and music and everything, and then meanwhile I was meant to just get writing at home.
In the very first meeting, we talked to you about our learning ballroom dancing.
Yes.
And we mentioned a tune which we both liked very much called Charmaine. How on earth does he get something like that into the piece without it sounding really odd?
It's a very good exercise in learning how to get musical ideas around thoughts, around experiences, and it was exciting.
Yeah, I wondered what he would do with regard to all your creative music making, with your specialism. Is he going to rake up some glockenspiels and xylophones and things?
What you could do is you could just put one idea, then another idea, then another idea, right to the end, but then it would have no structure to it. So one of the hardest bits of the process is selecting which ideas do I want to include and which ones do I have to sadly let go.
I've always thought that writing purely abstract music is far easier than writing programmatic music.
Certainly, I mean, and it's really easy to do wrong. It's really easy for programmatic music to sound bad. Well, I've never done the whole taking an idea, a musical idea, and actually making an explicit reference to it in the piece and thinking about it in these broad story-like terms.
Felix I found a delightful young man, courteous and considerate.
It was very enjoyable meeting him. It was very interesting hearing his life story.
He lived in the East End of London, which was still smothered in smoke and grime and soot. So that was the environment one lived in, and one wanted to escape from this.
He left home when he was very young. He went abroad to work as a secretary.
So I talked to him about working in Australia, and then I also worked in West Africa and in Kuwait and in the Netherlands. So well, I just talked to him about myself.
So it was just a lot of travelling really. So that's kind of what inspired the music. It's never being settled in one place.
How on earth could he have composed that by just listening to me? I said to one of our residents here, I said, well, what did you think of that? And she said, oh, Hamish, it was just you.
It's something that no one has ever done before for me and will never do again.
Getting to chat and just meet someone new is it's a really great experience, because when you get experiences like this otherwise, I think we just talked a lot, didn't we? We just did a lot of talking. I filled like a little notepad and then I went back with like questions about what she told me, and then we narrowed it down to like the key important bits. We started with Ivan Novello, that was it, and that kind of music, and then we were talking about Skyboat Song and One Is Broken and you being in the choirs at school. You talked about it with such passion, I was like, well, I have to include that, I can't leave that out.
I really enjoy working with young people because they're open and they question. And, it can be a spontaneous experience.
You're trying desperately to include lots of tiny references and you're like, oh, it'll be really exciting if they get these, but then you're worried in the back of your mind, like, what if they don't get them? But I think we've condensed it.
Yes, I think we managed that very well in the end.
I think so. Yeah, I think we got it.
Hope so.
Yeah, you'll see.
We just discussed. It was mainly him talking. He was quite enthusiastic.
I first noticed him when he came with the Pre-Conservatoire group to play in the main hall, and I was very impressed with him and his piano playing of some Bach. And lo and behold, when I get a student, it's him! I couldn't have been more delighted.
Yeah, we just had quite long and in-depth conversations about his life, about the music he listened to during his life.
We had a nice time together, and I would like it to have gone on to do more.
I guess it was partly to do with his life, but more trying to reflect his character, as though it's a character in maybe a film or a play. It was quite exciting, yeah, to learn new things about this person and then really try and represent them with music. I mean, it's always very exciting when you have a piece of music premiered by live musicians, because all you've heard is maybe your rendition of it at the piano, your ideas going around your head, and a very poorly produced sound that comes out of Sibelius. And it's, you really get a feeling of your ideas have been properly realised.
I loved it. I was amazed. I recognised the tunes in it. It was lovely to hear them again.
Opening up about your life is kind of what I found to be the more important thing in this, and then a bit of music came from it.
Thank you all very much, and especially Jacob, for that really quite extraordinary experience for me.
I've enjoyed listening to your conversations. I think it's the first time since we've moved here that I've heard Peter talking to another musician who's really knowledgeable.
I'd imagine it must be quite special to have somebody write a piece of music for you.
I'm sure he'll go far. I wish him well, and I shall treasure this memory for quite a while.
I'd willingly do it again.